Hello and welcome to my channel. Happy spring. Today is a special day for us. Our good friend's daughter had their baby and we're just so thrilled that everything went well and she arrived safely. And baby Lucy, shout out to you. Welcome to the world. Today I am sharing my guest design project for Lorna Taylor from Tailor Made Journals, and she has given us the option to choose 2 kits out of her digital kits that she has available and just be creative and design whatever we would like to do with them. So the 2 kits that I chose were Vie En Rose and the vintage French ledger papers. I don't have any authentic vintage or antique ledger papers, so I'm just so thrilled that I could use these, and they're absolutely gorgeous, even nicer when printed out. What I did was I printed out each kit twice. No, actually I printed out Vie En Rose twice because it's 32 pages. It has everything you need and more to do a full journal. It's absolutely fabulous. And I know other makers had chosen the same kit, and I just thought, well, I'll just do my spin on it and see what I come up with. Because it's pink and it's floral, it just is easy for me to do. It just comes naturally and everything usually runs very smoothly. So I tea-dyed all the kits that I printed out. The only page that I did not use from the Vie En Rose was this one, and I can make an envelope out of it. I can do whatever. And this is what the ledger papers look like. What I did was I put, sorry, that's upside down. I combined 2 per 8.5 by 11 inch page. So I got 2 and used them as, you know, page sides. And also what I decided to do from the beginning was I thought I'm probably going to split it, do 2 signatures and do 1 journal with 1 signature each, but I wasn't sure. I knew that I had this cover in mind 100%, and I thought I'd really like to use this other vintage velvet piece that I have and this gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous blush colored vintage lace. I knew that I would like to use them for covers, so it became the thing that I turned it into 2 different journals. And so that's what we've got here today. I've got the braided trim with the beads at the top, a beautiful heart-shaped vintage doily. This one is tea-dyed, it was white. This is some beautiful raspberry colored lace with vintage lace with some just cardstock underneath each cover that looked very close to the color of the lace. I tried using pattern paper underneath it and it was just too busy. I tried using fabric under it and I didn't want it to get too thick around the edges. Of course, I've got Craft X as the base, and in a couple of spots you might be able to see through it. I didn't want to paint them because I would have agonized over just getting the right color. So I just left it the way it was. After all, they are junk journals. They're anything but junk, but that's what they are. I've got these beautiful sari silk ties. These pieces I got separately. This one was at a vintage and antique show, and it's got the beads dangling down, and it's just stunning, and I knew it would make a gorgeous journal cover topper when I had the right project for it. So as soon as I chose the Vie En Rose kit to work with, I knew this would be the winner. We've got vintage buttons down each spine, and the back one of this one is very plain. Got the colored We Are Memory Keepers eyelets. What I'm going to do now is open this one first. So we'll just put this other one aside. This also is a beautiful tassel, just an enamel vintage rose. So very pretty. Just put that aside here. I also had this little brooch I really was hoping to use somewhere, but I got a lot going on these covers. So we'll save it for something else. It's always nice to have things for the next time. So yeah, the gold beaded braided trim, and each signature. Each journal is 72-page sides. So we've got 144 altogether. We've got 18 pages. So times that by 4 gives you the 72. And we will go inside. Now I used for the inside, I could not find any more of this beautiful paper that comes by the large sheet that I love to use in my journals. So I had to use one that I already had, and I thought the colors and the floral were close enough. This was, I used in my Asian fusion Japanese cherry blossom journal. What I do is I've got a card tucked in here in case I give it away or sell it, whatever I decide to do. It's ready to go. And this little card has the roses on it. So this one, I chose this for the title page and used one of the sentiment pieces of ephemera. We've got all kinds of vintage lace here. All vintage lace. Absolutely all of it. Or textiles. And I'm just so thrilled with the way it came out. Not quite as full as the blue one that I just did. I think I put lace and trims on every single page edge. This one I've got 9 of the page edges out of the 18. So there you go. Did a lot of stamping and stenciling. I used my gilding paste by Cosmic Shimmer, and the color I chose was the Gold Treasure. This is done with a spatula, this one. So I wanted to show you what the difference in the texture is. It's very, very raised and thick. And I have a couple of old PSX large background rose stamps that I use throughout. I also used Lorna stamps. And if you don't have any of hers, they are amazing. So I will point out where I use them. Some vintage lace with just some satin ribbon running through this page. Some beautiful blush colored vintage lace at the top. I've used rose colored thread, a little deeper than pink that I've used in the past. Got a really pretty green rose charm here. I also made some special tags. These are from Vintage Wallpaper, and I've used 3 little tag toppers here, just some beautiful cheesecloth from my pink lace bundle from Sheila, and this is just some water lace, and some beautiful fibers at the top, stamped on the back with one of Lorna's stamps, and some blush colored vintage lace here with some rosette trim at the top. Vintage sheet music. The title of the song is Serenade of the Roses. Beautiful vintage antique French lace, pardon me. This one is gorgeous. A little bit difficult to ruche or gather up the side when you're, I press it along with my thumb in a trail of glue because it's so fragile. You got to be super careful. And then I just press it into place and I top stitched it with the pink thread. Just a background, large tag out of some scrapbook paper. Beautiful artistry. The watercolor images in this kit are just exquisite. So beautiful. Lorna, they're gorgeous. A little swatch, fabric swatch here, and a tiny charm that says Made with Love. Vintage handkerchief in the pink. And here's one of the images from the kit. I backed all of them with pink parchment paper and then stitched around in the rose thread. These were actually meant to be file folders, but I just used them as postcards for this project. Some stamping, beautiful, beautiful vintage lace, and one of the fussy cut images of a little angel or cherub from the kit, Vie En Rose. And what I did with these ledger papers was I folded them over. So you've got a little bit of a tuck spot or a pocket here that you can use. And I covered them with some of my vintage fabric that I got. Stamped on the back with a rose. And here's a small coin envelope with a journaling card stamped on the back, just says Rose. And here we've got this beautiful, gorgeous lace. This is modern lace. You can buy it several places. This particular piece I think I got from Renee Bouquets this time. I've got it from SM Tiffany Lane on Etsy. And I used the full width and just tucked it around the whole page before I stitched in the signature, and it becomes a giant pocket. This is just a stamped tag that I did with a Heartfelt Creations stamp and tied with some crinkled seam binding, and then tied with a bow so that it just hangs over the edge here. Some of the beautiful vintage fabric. One of my appliques from Nikki at Ravioli Dreams. This is the pink, set of pink. One of the birds, fussy cut from the kit, Lorna's kit. And I've got some, I think that's Shakespeare, The Life of King Henry V. I just love the color and the texture of the paper. Lots of journaling space, some lined paper. Got a beautiful lace pocket here, and I think those are swallows on the front. Yes. And just tucked inside there, extra journaling space. Here we've got a pocket made, the kit comes with all the extra pieces that you would need. Tabs, a spool if you want to wind some thread around it, or some pretty fibers, all kinds of images. I didn't use them all, it was just too much, but you could have if you want to. Cute little bulb pin here with a rose charm. Some of these tags from the kit, and I just stamped on the back that one with the rose. Here's a full image of my PSX stamp. What I tried on this project was mixed media using the antique sand paste from Cosmic Shimmer, and it's cool, it's tricky, it's thick, because I used the oh, what do you call that? I already said what it was. This thing, you know, whatever. This color is Opera Mauve, and I love the way it came out. I used 2 different stencils. I used these 2 that I have. One is Tim Holtz, and another one is one that I have had for a long time. This thing is what I used to apply the texture paste. And so those just go tucked in here. Some beautiful vintage eyelet cotton trims stitched with pink threads. And here I've got some scrapbook paper that coordinated with the kit. One of the fussy cut images in an oval shape, some vintage lace, and a piece of Stamperia paper that I've used in several spots with this project. Another image with a white rose, and I've just stamped on the back journal with one of Lorna's stamps. Some more beautiful antique French lace here over top of the French ledger papers. Isn't that just stunning? So simple, but oh, I just love it. And then stitched with the pink thread. Journaling space here. Got a little beaded dangle and some tags from the kit with beautiful flowers and roses on them, stamped on the back and stitched with pink thread. This is vintage lace, of course. And we've got some French book page. This, it is some poetry. I think it's Emily Dickinson. This is a fussy cut bird from the ephemera pages in the kit. Some journaling space. Some pink vintage lace, and this is the image from the kit. It's the only portrait or image of a person, really, and I had intended on using it on one of the covers as a tuck spot, which I didn't use it, and so you know, I didn't jazzy it up at all, but I think it just goes nicely with this page. Fussy cut image from the kit on the back of some sheet music. Here we've got another image and a small tag. This is done with the same gilding paste, only I've applied it with a foam applicator. So it's much thinner. So completely different effect. It's really nice to try both, actually. some beautiful blush colored vintage lace, stamping, a tuck spot with a tag, tall tag. Gorgeous, gorgeous antique lace. I love that color. That tan color is just so stunning. And then here's the center of the signature where I've got some beautiful vintage lace applique. This came in a piece that was big enough to do both center of the signatures in each journal. So that's just the way it came out. And I tried some different types of product for decoupaging this time. The dry decoupaging I used, this is some decor tissue paper. So it's thicker, say, than a napkin that we would decoupage, but it's amazing. And I do the dry version where you paint your surface with full strength Mod Podge, let it dry, and then you put your medium on top of that, and then you sandwich it between parchment paper and iron it on so there are no wrinkles, and it's just amazing. Then I've got a few tag toppers here, just done some fabric swatching, a bulb pin, and a tiny little rose bead dangle that I made, and some fiber toppers. Here's another one of Lorna's beautiful stamps, the definition of vintage. And I use waxed upholstery thread or button thread for sewing my signatures on. I just find it easier with my hands. It doesn't tear the pages, and it just seems to stay in place a whole lot better than other wax linen thread that I've purchased. Got a, now I had to write this down because I wasn't sure I would remember what it is. It's a vintage enamel rose cabochon. And I just attached it on this page here because it was a little heavier. I wanted to make sure it was on a page that was sturdy. Another medium that I tried this time was scented sachet or drawer liner paper. I got a whole box of this vintage stuff, and it even still smells pretty. And when you're ironing it on, you've got this really, really faint, powdery, soft smell that comes through, and the texture is amazing. It worked. I was really impressed. Stamped on the back with one of Lorna's new stamps, the corset. Some pretty little fabric swatch tag toppers and fibers, and a little bulb pin with a tiny bead dangle that I've made myself. And those just get tucked in there for extra journaling space. The beads in the center of the signature are rose colored, rose images on those beads, and a silhouette rose and a rose dimensional cabochon charm. How beautiful is that together with the gold? Just think it's so, so pretty. And then on the left side here, we've got a pocket that I've made with some vintage trim, a couple more tags, done with the rose stenciling. Where I use stenciling on the front, I did not stamp them on the back because I thought they had enough going on. And this page is just a beautiful rose card that I got from one of the vendors that I buy from on Etsy. And I just thought it was so beautiful, I had to include it in this journal. It's a little folder, so you could put whatever you like in it. I have tea-dyed this gorgeous netted Swiss dot fabric that I bought from Susie at Mary Not Martha and tied it onto the paper clips. And then here's a book plate that you can add to the front of the journal and write your name in it or whatever you'd like to write in it. Some vintage music paper. Here's another one of the ledgers with some blush colored vintage lace. Gorgeous rose image that I've fussy cut from the ephemera pages of the kit. Some more stamping, some of Sheila's beautiful dyed pink eyelet cotton lace trim that just was perfect for this project. Just so amazing. Another little pocket here. I've used one of the journaling cards as the pocket. Backed the tag onto some pink colored parchment paper and stamped the word rose on the back. Some vintage book page. And here we've got a vintage handkerchief that I've attached one of Nikki's beautiful appliques on the front of it, stamped it here. And here's some of these beautiful images from Lorna's kit. That's a G45 stamp from the Botanic Rose collection, I believe. And the word journal using one of Lorna's stamps. Those just get tucked in there. Gorgeous image from the kit. Absolutely beautiful. And then I've got one of the little stitched slotted pockets here with several tags from the kit. Journaling cards with a rose stamped on the back, the word rose. This little tag with the word journal stamped on it, and this one has a little birdie stamped on it. So that goes there. Beautiful antique lace here. I love this monochromatic look. All the beautiful rich tea-dyed beige tones with a very, very soft pink, coordinating it together. And we've got some more small tags. This one, what I did was I just used my big rose stamp and stamped off the page. So it's just rosebuds there. This is some beautiful vintage lace or vintage trim that I have of rosebuds. A pocket from the kit. Some gorgeous vintage lace. One of the fussy cut images from the ephemera pages. I love this spread. Absolutely love it. I've used some vintage lace here as the paperclip adornment. Here's one of the envelopes from the kit, and I just used some journal paper and stamped it at the top with one of Lorna's stamps. Got one of the seals from the fussy cut images of the ephemera pages, and then just the front here. Nothing fancy, just I love the way it looks stacked together like this. And we've got another beautiful image from the kit and some stamping here. This is some vintage seam binding. I don't know if it's antique or vintage. It is so sheer, and it was folded in 3 with some fusing in between it. So maybe it's not antique. I don't know what it was, but I ripped that all out, ironed it and everything, and then did a ruffle with it, and I just love the effect. Little dangle here with a gem. Beautiful fussy cut image from the ephemera pages of the kit. And here I've got a pocket that I created. Rather than put the pocket at the bottom of the page, I moved it to the top and stitched on a lace pocket so it goes all the way through the length. And what you could do is just adhere it right there, and then you've got a side tuck and a top tuck. But my daughter was looking at it, and I asked her opinion. She says, oh, just leave the solid image in there. It looks really cool peeking through like that. So that one's for you, Gabe. On the back side, we've got the beautiful rosebud lace here, and I've used it as a pocket again. This is a greeting card that I got from Australia when I used to live there. And I have attached some beautiful glass vintage buttons here, just to the crinkled seam binding. And it can still be written in. So that's just tucked in this side here. And this one has the beautiful vintage rose fabric. Some more tags that I've made into journaling cards and used the stenciling on the fronts of them. Beautiful, beautiful vintage lace and a sentiment from the kit. This paper is Stamperia with the roses. I've got some stamping here, and this beautiful vintage rose pink hanky that I've made into a pocket. And just a tall tag here with this gorgeous. This is very similar to the antique French lace, but it's not as fragile. It's a little bit stiffer, so it was easier for me to work with. And on this side, I've just got a flip out here for extra journaling or whatever you want to do, and a page or a journaling card with one of the images from the Stamperia set. I believe this paper pad is called Precious. And here I've used one of the parts of the file folder. You can see where there's just a line there where I could have made a booklet out of this, but I chose it, as I said, to use more as a postcard. So I've got a little bit of the gold stenciling here, tied with this beautiful blush colored crinkled seam binding, and used my slotted punch. Keep forgetting to use this. This thing is so amazing and so fun. So that's how I did that technique. And here's just a belly band from the kit. And this is the back side of the stenciled image here. And I've used the foam applicator with one of my stencils and the gilding polish. Here is another tall tag, decoupaged with the decor tissue. I've added a little tiny rose gold metal bead and stitched with pink thread, fabric swatch, and one of Lorna's stamps on the bottom, Parfumerie de Paris. Well, lousy French. Parfumerie de Paris. Some beautiful vintage lace on the side, some stamping of the roses, and then the back page. Here's my logo, Vintage Elegance Inspiration. And I just used this lace pocket here to store some of the extra fussy cut pieces from the ephemera pages, and a very, very, very old rose postcard dated 1911. So it's 110 years old. How cool is that? So this is probably going to be part A. I'm going to do 2 videos. So I will sign off here and come back with part 2, which will be the blush colored lace journal, part 2 of Vie En Rose. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. See you soon.